Hey, what is up? It's 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your career in real estate, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. Again, that's 813-928-0106. You can also visit us online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Be sure to check out the Success Center that we have in there. We have all kinds of great articles to help you grow and jumpstart your real estate business. You'll find all these episodes of State of Real Estate on there. You'll find our exam prep videos, the Ask the Instructor. We put out so much information because we want to see our students not only succeed in passing the exam, but succeed in their real estate career. So that's why we do the show on Fridays. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you to help you mastermind and grow your real estate business. Today's topic is an essential one, especially in last week's episode, and we try to make these shows as engaging and as relatable to our viewers as possible. So last week we were getting a lot of inquiries from people that were brand new to real estate, that were just starting out, and be like, hey, what do I need to do? What is it should I be doing? What should I be spending my time doing? And I get it, while you have those questions. You're not alone when you wonder, what should I be doing when I start in real estate? Because you're just going to be bombarded from every which direction with information, with things that you think you need to do, but you're really wondering if you should be doing this or you should be doing that. And then you have to have a whole kind of discussion with yourself of what you should be doing. So then you're spending time right there just trying to decide what it is that you need to do, what you need to spend money on, what it is that you absolutely need to have to translate to success down the road, but also today, to translate to getting that instant gratification, because that's something you got to get the cash flow first, and then you work on the big payday. So today's episode, it's all about your first 30 days in the real estate business. So we're talking about the first 30 days because this is really a crucial time period. It's a crucial time period to get yourself started on the right foot, to get you maintaining that excitement and momentum, because when you first get your real estate license, you pass your exam, you go activate with a broker, you're very excited. But that excitement could go away, that positivity and great outlook you have, that could die off very quickly. Number one, when you're overwhelmed, and number two, when you start making some bad choices about things. And it's not your fault. There's just so many things out there that you really have to weigh the pros and cons and really figure out whether or not this is something that's going to contribute to your success in real estate. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, the first 30 days. If any one of you guys that are tuning in, if you've already are in the real estate industry for longer than 30 days, I want to hear from you guys and what it is that you did during your first 30 days that you would definitely repeat if you were to start all over again. And then maybe share some things that you did that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done this during the first 30 days. So put that in the comments. We're going to be live chatting with you guys in here. I'd love to give you some shout outs here on the stream if you're putting comments in. So like I said, if you've Have any questions, put that in there. If you're in the real estate industry, what did you do during your first 30 days that really helped you? Or what did you do that you wish you shouldn't have done? If you were to repeat it all over, you wouldn't do those things again. Love to hear your feedback. That's really one of my favorite parts of doing this show. But I do have a couple predetermined topics that I want to cover for what you should be doing during your first 30 days as a real estate agent. So first thing I want to start off with the things that you need to have. Because that's really a key, crucial part of this, of what tools, what items do I need to have. Because, I mean, there's whole websites, there's whole web stores, there's all these platforms that are out there to sell real estate agent stuff. It's a big industry. The Association of Realtors is the largest trade industry in the entire world, the largest trade industry. So you know there's a lot of vendors that have products that are helpful to agents, but now we have to make that decision of whether or not this is something you absolutely need to get yourself started. So I'm big on invest in yourself rather than investing in your business, because if you grow yourself, your business is going to follow right along with that. So that's where you want to kind of tailor your investments. And we're going to be going into some details on some things that you can really get. But let's start off with some essentials, some things that you need right away when you're starting in the real estate industry. So the number one thing I would say would probably be business cards. If you have limited funds, which a lot of people starting in real estate don't have great big sums of money ready to just dump into the real estate industry. And if that were the case, even if you did have a great big sum of money that you're ready to invest in yourself, I would caution you not to do that right away. Because the reason why you don't want to just dump that in right away is because you might not get the return on investment that you would if you're a much more seasoned agent. You'll know what's working, what's not working, and when you understand what is working, what's not working, that'll allow you to kind of pick and choose what it is and where you're putting your money a lot more effectively. So business cards are absolutely number one. And business cards, I wouldn't even say go out there and get the fanciest business cards. You get a nice little pack of 500 cards for maybe 20, 30 bucks now. I mean, a lot of times you can even get these cards for free with a lot of websites, the Vista prints and whatnot. They'll send you out your first order for free and whatnot. So that's an absolute must-have. It's a very minimal investment, but that's really such a crucial part, because every person that you meet, number one, you should be talking about real estate with them, and number two, you should finish that conversation with giving them your business card. You should always make sure, and this is your way of going out and prospecting. Last week we did a whole episode on prospecting and why that's so crucial to your success in real estate, and that's something you need to be doing every single day, getting your cards in people's hands. Now, there's tons of other marketing memorabilia you could get as well, but like I said, hold off on that. Wait. Get your business cards and start getting in the habit of getting those out there, and then move into some of these other things when you're ready to invest in brochures or pamphlets or booklets or whatever other things it is that you're looking to purchase. So the business cards, that's your absolute must-have, 20, 30 bucks. That's an investment that you need to make. The next one, and now this is probably going to be second on the list with this here, is a professional photo. So you want to look professional. You don't want to have a little selfie photo. Hey, look at me, let me sell your house. I can't afford the 40, 50 bucks to get somebody to take my picture, so I took the picture myself. That just doesn't make you look like a professional. You want to look like you're a professional, even if you're just starting out. Day one, you want to look as professional as you can. You want to have professional-looking business cards, and you're going to want to have a headshot. At the very least, on your social media profiles, we're going to get into things not to do during your first 30 days. The social media can seem like it's a must-have right away when you're first starting out, but I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's not. We're going to talk about more of that why when we get into the things you shouldn't be doing your first 30 days in real estate, but you do want a professional photo. Ideally, you want to have that professional photo on your business cards so that way people can put a face to a name. A lot of people are visual types of learners. They remember things better when they see it visually. So they might not remember your name, but they may remember your face. So it's definitely recommended that on your business cards you have your professional photo on there. So we have your business cards, your professional photo. The third thing I would say, and now this again, it's third on the list going down these. So if you have limited funds to start out with here, I mean, you're going to have expenses for the Realtor Association, for MLS, for your broker, and things like that. So these other things, you want to make sure you're managing your money so you don't run out of money when you need to order more business cards, because those are such an essential part. So your business card is number one, professional photo number two, and the third thing I'm going to say you're going to want to get is you have two options, really, however it is that you want to go. One's a lot cheaper than the other. You get yourself a little name badge, one of those little magnetic little name tags. Yeah, it's maybe going to cost you $5, $10, depending on where you order it from and how fancy it is, but maybe 10, 15 bucks at the most for one of these little name tags. If you don't want to do a name tag, personally, I'm not a fan of name tags. What I would rather do, because you still need to have some way to show that you're a professional, either get yourself some dress shirts embroidered or get yourself some polo shirts embroidered with your company's logo or whatever it may be, but you want to have some way to be able to look the part. And like I said, the embroidery can get expensive. I mean, you're talking, sometimes 50, 60 bucks a shirt. And unless you're going to wear that same shirt every day, which is not recommended. Again, we want to look professional. That also entails smelling professional, so making sure that we have a couple different shirts that we're going to wear. They're not going to get worn out and so on and so forth. So if that's too much of an investment for you, get yourself a name tag. Maybe you have a nice wardrobe. Maybe you're going to wear a suit over your shirt. And if you're wearing a suit jacket over your shirt, they're not going to see any embroidery that's in here. So if you're planning on doing that, then you got to do the name tag or a pin or whatever it is, but some way to really kind of signify, so when people look at you, they say, okay, this person is a real estate professional. And that's an absolute must. These things are things that you need to have. So business cards, number one. Number two, your professional photo. And number three, some way to look the part, whether that's your name tag or an embroidered shirt. Those are really the three must-haves. Now, anything over and above that, that's maybe you could spend this in your first 30 days, but those are the things that I would say you need to have, and those I would make sure you have all three of those items done and taken care of. If you still have money left over, then that's where you want to be careful. And we're going to talk more about that and some of the other things that you need to be doing, maybe some other things you can consider purchasing during your first 30 days, depending on the plan it is that you have. But before that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so stay with us here. I'm John Carissimo, and you're watching State of Real Estate.
When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment.
Hey, I'm John Carissimo, and I'm here to tell you today about Ask the Instructor. This is every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. I'm going to be live answering your questions, so tune in. You can get on Facebook, on facebook.com/Tampa School, youtube.com/Tampa School, or also on our Success Center, tampaschoolofrealestate.com/success. You'll find those links in the description for this video. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm John Carissimo, and I look forward to answering your questions. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career. Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to State of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you to help you mastermind and grow your real estate business, because we're not just in it to get you to pass the licensing exam. We want to see you build a successful real estate career. Today's episode, we have a really great episode. We're talking about your first 30 days as an agent, what it is that you should be doing and what it is that you should not be doing, because that's really just as important to know what you should not be doing, just to make sure that you're not wasting your time, because it's real easy to get discouraged when you're first starting out in real estate. Now, don't expect it on your first day you're going to get a deal and you're going to get a contract, you're going to get a closing. I mean, even when you have something under contract, it's going to take some time before it finally closes, before you finally get your first payday. So really, until you get that first commission check, you're in survival mode, and it's really, you're working on all cylinders trying to get business and drum up business, working towards that first deal. And you have to really be smart about what it is that you're doing. Not only what it is that you're doing, but how it is that you're spending your money. because you could run out of time and you could run out of money. And both of those are going to be really to the point where you're like, okay, look, this didn't work out for me. So this first 30 days, and really the first 60 and first 90 days as well, is essentially crucial to starting your successful career in real estate, unless you're really willing to kind of stick it out and wait for the long-term strategy. You stay licensed long enough and keep doing a little bit here and there, you'll eventually get some sort of deal. But who wants to wait for eventually? We want money today, or at the very least after the closing occurs a month or a couple weeks down the road. So in order to do that, we need to make sure we're spending our time and our money wisely when we're first starting out with a career in real estate. Now, before we went on break, we talked about the 3 things that I determined to be your essentials. These are the things which it's okay to spend your money on. This is the stuff you're going to need to start off with, and this is an absolute must-have. There's a lot of things where you could get by without doing them. Yes, they might increase your business a little bit, but again, we're in survival mode here. So we're not worrying so much about luxuries. We're worrying about what is going to get us to that first deal. That's our ultimate goal. It's great to have a much larger and much bigger goal that you're shooting for, your annual income goal, or how many houses you want to sell, or any of these things like that. But ultimately, your number one goal right off the bat is to get a property under contract. That's goal number 1. That's really the sub goal out of all this, is to get a property under contract, because you have to have a property under contract in order to make any money. If you never have a property under contract, then, I mean, there's a couple other ways to make money in real estate, but if we're talking about the sales side of things, you need to have a property under contract to work toward, and even make your first step toward achieving that goal. So that's really what you need to be asking yourself every single day, is what I'm doing. And ask yourself multiple times a day, especially when you're first starting out, because it's very confusing when you're first starting as a new agent of what it is you should be doing and what it is that you should not be doing. And what you need to be asking yourself is this something that's going to get me to that first goal I have of getting a property under contract? Not of your income. The income we're worried about once you have a property under contract. You got to get a deal or 2 under your belt before you even start worrying about how you're going to ramp up your business. So there's different priorities. There's different things we need to focus on. Right now we need to focus on, say you're building a fire. So you're building a fire, going through, you're stacking all the firewood. I mean, you could stack the most firewood and build the largest fire that it's looking like, but if you don't have anything to ignite that wood, if you don't have anything to get it started, then it's all for nothing. You just have a big stack of wood. So I'm going to use this analogy to reference a lot of the things that we're going through here. Is it something that's starting the fire? Are you striking flint? Are you striking a lighter? Are you lighting a match? Or are you just stacking wood? It's okay to stack wood once you have the fire going, but get the fire going and then start throwing the wood on the fire. So that's really the way you want to categorize everything it is that you're doing. Are you starting the fire, or are you building the fire? Because building the fire, yeah, you have to do a couple little things, getting your business card, getting a professional photo, and starting talking to people. That's going to be starting to build your fire. But you have to start it, and that ignition really comes from what's going to translate to your first deal. So that's what you want to be thinking of in your first 30 days. Am I starting the fire, or am I building the fire? And you always want to focus on this is something that's starting the fire, and that's what you absolutely need to work on today. Remember, we're in survival mode, so we need to get this fire started so we can survive. If we don't ever get this fire started, we could have the largest pile of wood in the world, but it's not going to translate to any success for us, or at least a deal. So that's going to really be the gist of this whole episode. I'm going to go through a couple different things that you should be doing. We talked about what you do need, but I want to hear from you guys as well. So all of you guys that are tuning in on YouTube and on Facebook, put it in the comments. If you've already been in real estate, put in what you did in your first 30 days that you would definitely repeat. If you had to start over from day 0 again and repeat this all over, what would it be that you did during the first 30 days, or what would you have done during those first 30 days, and what maybe did you do that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have been doing that. So try to think of that stuff. Put it in the comments. Definitely want to hear from you guys, and of course, if you do have questions on any of the stuff I'm talking about, put that in the comments as well. I'd love to help answer your questions. So we talked about the things that we absolutely need to have: the business cards, a professional photo, and something so we look the part, either a name tag or an embroidered shirt or something like that. But that's where you want to cut yourself off. Other than your required expenses that you'd have with your broker for the MLS and the realtor and so on and so forth, but even sometimes with those, you can maybe find some ways to delay getting into that stuff until you absolutely need it. So let's talk about what you should be doing. We already talked about where you should be spending your money, and you might be saying, John, shouldn't I buy this? Shouldn't I do this? I've got Trulia calling me, I have Zillow calling me, and they say I need to advertise with them. And my answer is no, you do not need those to start a successful career in real estate. So many of these things that are marketed to agents are luxuries, and it's okay to get these luxuries, but you need to take care of the bare essentials first. Remember, we're just trying to get this fire started before we start adding more logs onto the fire. Investing in advertising, that's putting a log on the fire, but you have to have the fire started for that to translate into any sort of business. If you just keep putting logs on a pile of logs without any ignition, nothing starting the fire, that's not going to translate to any business for you. So that's really, like I said, you want to keep that in mind whenever you're doing something or spending some sort of money. Is this starting the fire or is this building the fire? They seem like the same things, but they're very different in what it is that they're actually doing. And just like in the real world, because it'll seem like that's something starting the fire, investing in advertising, but that's really just building the fire. Starting the fire would be going out there and actually making a contract. And so we'll cover more of that when we get into the things not to do here, but I want to talk about things that you should be doing. So we talked about what you need to purchase, but now we need to cover what you should be doing. So two things, really. Two things, and now you're going to hear these things, and hopefully they'll sound like something that you thought of, but a lot of people that are watching this, I guarantee you, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I guess I should be worrying about that. Or maybe, what about this MLS training, or what about this contract training, or so on and so forth. Before you even get to that, so before you even get to a contract, let's rehearse this through our mind of what occurs going from that process of meeting somebody to ultimately having a contract with them. You're not going to meet them right away, and then as soon as you're done, hi, I'm John, I'm a realtor. Oh, great, where do I sign? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So you need to rehearse and practice what it is that's going to lead up to saying, okay, yes, sign here. Because they're not just going to ask you, what do I need to sign to give you money? That's not going to happen. They're not going to say, hey, you look like a nice person. Do you mind if I sign some paperwork so you'll get some money? That's not going to happen. You need to practice getting to that point of having the contract, and then you worry about like the ins and outs of the contract when you have it there. Because I'll tell you this, and I've taken classes, when I first started in real estate, I took classes on the contract, and I definitely recommend you do the same. But there's other information and education that you need before you get until that contract position. When you're ready for the contract, that's where you need to go through, because I'll promise you this, you're going to learn a lot more from a real world scenario with working with a contract than you are just sitting through a class on the contract theory. And you're going to learn a lot of the fundamentals that you need to know to make sure you don't do anything illegal in your pre-licensing class. So once you have your real estate license, you should have learned all the basics of the contract that you need to know that, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do that. And now it just really gets into the nitty-gritty stuff. So before we get into the contract, and what we need to be doing here is rehearsing that process of getting to this point. Rehearsing our listing presentation. The listing presentation, so let's say you have somebody that's interested in having you sell their house for them. You're going to have to make a presentation. They're not just going to say, hey, you have a real estate license? Okay, great, yeah, I need to sell my house. Where do I sign? No, it's not going to work like that. You need to go through and practice your presentation of pitching them on yourself. So what you need to do is get yourself a script prepared. And it's okay to deviate from this script a little bit in the real world. I mean, you're not going to be reading off of a piece of paper, but you need to know your kind of say's and do's, the main bullet points that you have. And what I recommend doing is recording yourself as you're going through and making this presentation and making this pitch so you can actually hear what it sounds like. You'll be surprised how different you sound listening to a recording of yourself than what you're hearing when you're just talking. Even if you're talking into a mirror, that's great as well, because then you could practice what you're doing with your hands. You could practice how you're smiling when you're talking. Remember, you want to be smiling when you're talking. Don't I sound so much happier when I'm smiling, when I'm talking? Don't I sound like I'm somebody that you trust when I'm smiling? And that's what you need to practice as well. Now that there's a time and place for smiling, you don't want to smile all the time, although it can help diffuse some situations, but there are times where you maybe don't want to smile and maybe look bad on your part. But smiling will probably work 9 times out of 10 to help lighten the mood and get a better relationship with your particular client. So you want to practice in the mirror, you want to record yourself so you can hear how it is that you sound and hear how it is that you're making inflection. You notice where I stop and I do these little pauses and I slow down. This is all from years of speaking to people that I've been able to kind of hone my speaking skills. So when I talk to somebody, it's your words that you're saying are just such a minute part of your dialogue. There's so much more going on than just the words coming out of your mouth. If you're sitting there like this, and what I'm going to do is help you sell your house, and in order to do that, I'm going to... No, that's not what you want to do. You do not want to sound like that. You don't want to say monotone. You don't want to use those little kind of filler words, the ums, the ahs, the or stutter, or repeat yourself too many times. Now, that's a little bit better than saying the ums, but they're both things that show that you're currently thinking. And it's much better to have a pause when you're talking. When you have a pause when you're talking, it allows people to process what you're saying a lot smoother, and you don't need to fill every little second. So the way this all works out with your listing presentation here, and it's really, it sounds intimidating, but it's not, because you're just talking to a couple, you're talking to one person, or maybe a few people that you're talking to. You're not giving a presentation to an entire room full of people where you're getting nervous. No, you're just talking to some people, and when you have rehearsed and practiced this presentation you have for them, it's going to come off very smoothly. You're going to seem very confident in what it is that you have to say, and it's going to be a very nicely done presentation that'll make them want to work with you, and then you're just going to go ahead and need a sign right here. So you just practice that. You practice that. You work with some of your friends. You work with some of your family members, and you pitch them and say, okay, now be honest with me. What is it that I'm doing that makes you not like me? What is it that I'm doing that makes you not trust me? What is it that I'm doing that makes it so I don't see what I'm talking about? You see what I was doing right there? If you're doing something like that, if you're talking and trying to think and so on and so forth, you need to practice and have some of these answers. You don't want to practice when you have your first client, because you know what's going to happen to that first client? They're going to be able to see through you, and they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. This person doesn't know what they're doing. I need to find somebody who does know what they're talking about, somebody who does know what they're doing, and I want to use them instead. So this is such an essential, crucial part. This isn't maybe not the first time that you're meeting them, because maybe you met them somewhere and you later set up an appointment. So maybe you met somebody throughout your normal day, or somebody called you somehow, or somehow you have a very surface level connection made with this person, but enough to get to an appointment. Now your appointment, this is really your first impression, because now this is the first time where you're actually presenting your business to them. So let's say somebody calls you up and they say, hey, I want to sell my house. I'm thinking about selling my house, and I heard that you have your real estate license. I heard that you're from a reputable company, or whatever it is that they're saying when they're calling you up, and you set the appointment. Now, before you go up to that appointment, you want to be prepared. So what you want to do is, number one, rehearse everything it is that you're going to do. Rehearse what it is that you're going through, and you usually want to start off kind of warming up to them. You want to find out what their needs are. Their need, if this is the listing appointment, is to sell their house. So in order to explain to them how it is you're going to help them sell their property, you have to go through and tour the property. You go take a look and say, oh, do you mind if you show me around the property? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm glad, because they'll think you need to know this stuff. And they'll go show you around the property. You want to take some notes as you go through, so you have stuff to talk about when you're going through the property and you're going into your listing presentation. But while you're touring the property, you want to get to know this person. You want to get to know this person not just for what they represent to you as a commission, because you don't want to look like the person that's just looking at people and they see dollar signs in their eyes. If that's what you're coming across like, and you're just like, oh, yeah, that's I could definitely sell this house for you. We'll get you top dollar. I charge 6%. I just need to sign here. Oh my God! If you just walked into somebody's house, their home, and just went right for the kill, right there, asking them, hey, look, let's get this done. Let's do this today, and now I don't need to look around. I know everything. I'm the best there is. I just sign right here. Whoa, let's get to know each other first. First of all, that may work occasionally, but they're probably not going to sign right there. So you want to get to know the person, get to know specifically, however, their needs, when it is that they're looking to sell, why they're looking to sell. They might not always have answers to all these questions here, but you do want to ask them to get an idea of what this person's looking for. And not just looking for in the sale, but what are they looking for in an agent? So ask them, oh, so when you bought this house, tell me about what you liked about that real estate agent. What did you not like about that real estate agent? Have you sold a house before? You have? Great. What did you like about that agent? What did you not like about that agent? What it is that you expect me to do to help you sell this house? And they might say, oh, well, you tell me. It's like, well, I have a lot of things I can do to help you sell the house, but I want to know what is most important to you, so I could really tailor my strategy toward your specific requirements about selling the house. So just go ahead and tell me what it is that you liked about that person. And you just develop this conversation with them, and you get to talk to them, and they start to open up to you. And the more that they open up to you, because a lot of people, they'll have these initial gut reactions to not want to talk to you because you're a salesperson, and they might want to tell you a different story that's not the real story because they don't want to be vulnerable and they don't want you to know, and you don't want that. You want to be honest and open with them and be a sincere person that they could talk to so you could open up to these people. But you have to practice this ahead of time. So I know we're kind of getting off topic here talking about this whole listing appointment thing, but this is all good stuff that you need to know in order to rehearse this, in order to practice this. So you want to kind of practice what it is that you're doing. Go to your friend's house and pretend that you're a agent. Well, you are an agent, but pretend you're being an agent there to list the property. Pretend that you're there to help them, and you go through this whole rhyme or reason, and you got to tell them, be like, hey, look, be hard on me, be like you would be if I was somebody that you didn't know that just came into the house, and so on and so forth. But you want to practice this. This is what you need to be doing, spending your time, is preparing yourself to get to that contract. Now, you don't want to spend too much time in the actual preparation. Yes, you want to be 100% so when you go out there, but you also need to balance this time with trying to get people to talk to as well. You could have the best presentation in the world, but if you don't have anybody to present to, that really doesn't do you too good. So we'll talk about some things you could do to kind of initially prospect, and we did a whole episode last week on the State of Real Estate show on prospecting. So make sure you go back and watch that, because the prospecting, that's the free way to go out there and get yourself some business. But today we're focusing more so on how to prepare yourself for that business, what it is that you need to be doing in your free time when you're not actually out there meeting people, which you definitely need to work that in. So we talked about the listing presentation. You want to have that down. But now you say, oh, well, what if I have a buyer working with me then? Should I go practice showing homes and whatnot? Not entirely. I mean, yes, you should be looking at some homes. There's something called a broker's open. Broker's opens are great because you could actually go through properties. So what a broker's open is, it's like an open house, but not for the general public. It's for other brokers, other sales associates. So somebody that has the property listed holds the house open for other real estate professionals to come in and see the property, so they're prepared to show the property to their clients. Those are the types of things that I would say would be good to go to, because what you could do is, now if this is a busy place or if it's somebody that doesn't really seem too friendly, this probably won't work. But you want to go up to the people that do seem friendly, where it's not too busy, and hey, do you mind giving me a quick tour of this? I'm actually kind of new to the real estate industry, and I'd really love it if you could help me out and just show me how you would normally show a house. And they'll probably be almost just so happy that you're asking them for their advice, because the real estate industry, for the most part, is a very friendly type of industry. The people are very nice, because they really need to be nice since they're in sales. I mean, yeah, there's a couple bad apples in the bunch with it there, but you'll usually find people are happy to really show off their skills and give you their wisdom and then their advice. So go to these brokers open so you can kind of get your feel of how you're going to tour properties. I mean, just some basic things I can tell you real quick that are musts that you want to do. When you're showing a property, you probably want to get there ahead of time so you can kind of maybe make sure the place is ready to be presentable, because if you're right there with your clients and you're seeing it, you're getting the first impression, and it's dark, the blinds are closed, especially if it's a vacant property, and so on and so forth. I mean, you want to turn the lights on. Anytime you go into a room, you want to, I'm a master light switch finder. I could go boom and find a light switch in any room pretty quickly, because I make sure that I know how to get to a light switch. Now, it seems like something very simple, but when somebody walks into a dark room, that's not going to make them feel welcome and invited. So that's actual showing of the property, which you do want to know how to do. But before you get to showing the property, here's something that gets overlooked by so many agents, and it's doing a buyer consultation. So often, when people start working with buyers, they'll go and the buyer will say, hey, I want to see this house on 123 Main Street. And the agent will go, okay, great, yeah, I'll see when I could get available in there. And they're like, okay, at 123 Main Street, we could do that this Sunday at this time. Okay, great, let's go see the property. Oh, yeah, oh, you don't like the property? Oh, okay, well, I could show you some other properties. Oh, no, you just want to wait? Oh, okay, you'll call me? Guess what? They're probably not going to call you. Now, if you did leave a good impression on them, they may call you, but what you should be doing before you show any product. So let's think of the listing side again, the working with the seller. And this is common practice. This is basically, it's generally accepted by everyone in the real estate industry that you need to go through and do this listing presentation before you have them sign on a contract. Now, with the buyers, your ultimate goal is to have them sign a contract as well, ultimately on a property. But there's this train of thought we have with the buyers that they may think that you only represent. They'll almost put you in the same bucket or the same category as the seller of the property. You don't want your buyers looking at you as the seller of the property. You want them looking at you as somebody representing them and somebody that's looking out for their best interest and somebody that's there to help them in every step of the way of this complex home buying process. But if they just call you up to see a property and you go take them right to the property, they're thinking of you as the seller of the property. So in order to kind of undo all that, because that's just their natural type of thinking, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be what their thinking is. Even if they know that you're not the seller of the property, they're going to make that association with you because they called you on this property, and they might think that you have some vested interest to get them to buy this particular property. Just so to undo all that, to completely brainwash, for lack of a better term, but really to kind of get them reset and get them on the same page with you, that you're there to help them, not just with that property, but any property is that they're interested in, because even if it's a for sale by owner property, you can negotiate a commission with the seller of that property to help them out. So what you want to do, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about in the listing appointment, is you want to go through a whole little presentation and a whole kind of consultation for them. So they say, oh yeah, I could definitely show you that property at 123 Main Street, but what I'll have you do first is come to my office. I want to give you a rundown on everything it is that I'll do for you. Now, I'm not charging you anything. This is a free, no obligation. The seller pays with a commission for me anyway, so you guys don't have to pay anything for me. But before I spend my time working with you, I have to go through this consultation so you know what to expect of me and you'll know what I expect of you. And again, it's a way of being open and honest. And you might have intentions of being honest, but if you don't put it out there how it is that you're going to be honest, then they could have different thoughts of this, which will end up with clients that are unhappy with what it is that you're doing. You don't want people to be unhappy with what it is that you're doing. You want them to be excited to meet with you to see properties, so you have to build that excitement. You have to go through and do a presentation. Bring them into your office. Or you don't even have to go to the office. You can meet them at Starbucks before you go see the property and say, hey, let's meet here. I want to go over a couple things, then we'll go ahead and check out the property. And that's a lot smoother transition than saying, hey, I want you to come to my office on this day, and then we'll decide if we're going to do show houses. You don't even have to do that. Just say, hey, let's meet here. That way we'll have a good spot to meet at. I'll go over some stuff with you, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at the property. So that's definitely something I'd recommend do, but you have to have this presentation practice. You have to have this ready to go, because if you're sitting down there for the first time, you're going to be wondering what to say to these people, especially when you're new in the real estate industry. So what you want to do, maybe research some stuff online. There's YouTube videos, you can watch stuff like this, or just take it from what I'm going to tell you right here. You want to find out who they are, what type of property it is that they're looking for, why it is that they're moving here, what all these reasons are that's going to help you match them up with the right type of property. You might find out right then and there that the property they're thinking of wasn't a good fit for them, but you want to be prepared with some other properties that would be a good fit for them. So you want to go through and do this whole little presentation and get your buyers prepared to understand what it is that you're going to do for them. So that's the buyer consultation, and that you want to rehearse as well. It's probably more likely that you're going to end up working with buyers initially than sellers. It could really go either way. It depends also on the market that you're working in. But if you're working probably more so with buyers, which is typically more often than not, even despite the market, that usually is you have probably more buyers than you would sellers, more people interested in property rather than people interested in selling the property. So get that buyer consultation down pat and have yourself a little questionnaire. Have yourself a notepad or a note sheet or something like that you could do, and really don't think this through too much. You don't, as much as I'm telling you to prepare for these things, you don't want to overdo it, because you still need to go out there and actually drum up some business and actually get people wanting to talk to you and wanting to do this consultation with you. So make sure that you have this rehearsed, you have it prepared. Like I said, do it in the mirror, record yourself so you can see how it is that you look and you sound when you're presenting this, and bring in some of your friends or family members or even some other agents that might have some free time available, and really practice your pitch on them. So that's really the key, is rehearsing how it is that you're going to be interacting with people. This is a people business, and even if you're an introverted person, I guarantee you, if you practice this, even the most introverted person with practice and really knowing what it is that they need to say, they'll feel like the most confident person in the world, and that'll come across as well to your clients. So that's really the big chunk out of this. I know we've taken a big segment here of going through this, is that you want to rehearse how you're going to work with sellers to get to a contract and how it is you're going to work with buyers to get to a contract, and be prepared with that. It is good to know essential really to know the contract to make sure that you're not be doing wrong with people. But there's the point in time where, especially now with the electronic signatures that you could do, that you're not even there in person when you're presenting these contracts. You're maybe walking them through this over the phone and you already have the contract prepared. And at that point, that's maybe where you want to get with your broker and say, okay, here, what it is that that I need to know out of this, what should I do, this is what's going on. And you have a scenario, and then you'll know how that contract applies to the scenario. The contract's a very universal document, and just learning the basic theory of it, there's so many different ways it could branch off and go. So you want to really, it's probably more effective for you to learn these contracts in the actual selling situation rather than just trying to learn them and then going out and trying to get the stuff, because then you'll be talking about the contract nonstop because that's the only thing you know about. You don't want to seem like the only thing you know about is a contract, because that'll come across as a very salesy type of thing that doesn't care about the person to do. You want to practice interacting with people, getting to know them, and making your presentation on what it is that you're going to do for them. And in order for you to do this for them, I need you to sign right here. So that's where you then present them the contract, whether that's a listing agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement. That's where you want to go in, and once you've made a nice thorough presentation to them, and they know you, and they know what you expect out of them, and they expect out of you, that's where they'll be like, okay, where do I sign? And they'll be ready to go. And it's a very easy transition once you've built it up effectively like that. So when we get back, we're going to talk about some things that you do not want to do. So those are really the things, just to sum up and recap all of this stuff here, the things that you want to get are going to be your business cards, your professional photo, and either a name tag or some embroidered shirts. And then the things that you want to be doing other than prospecting and drumming up business, because that's really your number one, is trying to prospect and drum up business and meeting people and passing out those business cards. But then when you have time, when you're not doing that, whether that's late at night or early in the morning or on your break at work or whatever it is that you're doing, that's where you want to be going through and practicing your pitches, practicing your listing pitch, practicing your buyer pitch, and practicing how, when you just meet people, how it is that you want to go through and say, hey, yeah, my name is John Carissimo. I'm actually a realtor, and I noticed that blah, blah, whatever it is that you're going to be saying to them. So have that all practiced and rehearsed. That's how you want to be spending your time when you're first starting out. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. I'm John Carissimo, and you're watching State of Real Estate.
Are you considering getting your real estate license via one of our classroom courses? At the Tampa School of Real Estate, our courses have been designed to prepare you for the Florida Real Estate Commission licensing exam, as well as teach you about the fundamental aspects of the real estate business. In this class, you'll learn about appraising property values, real estate contracts, the mortgage industry, and much more. We offer multiple class formats and several locations to make getting your real estate license easy. You can complete the course in as little as 2 weeks in one of our day classes. Or if you have a busier schedule, you might prefer our evening classes. All of our classes include the course textbook as well as other supplemental materials. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, all of our instructors undergo a rigorous training program and have real-world real estate experience in order to best prepare you for the class and state exam. We are so confident we have the most comprehensive licensing courses in Florida. We back all of our students with our exclusive 1-year retake guarantee. Our class sizes are limited and tend to fill up quickly, so reserve your seat today with a $49 deposit that will apply towards your course tuition. Registration is easy and just takes a few minutes on our website, tampaschoolofrealestate.com. You can also stop by our administration building or give us a call at 813-928-0106. Our advisors are standing by to answer any questions you have about obtaining your Florida real estate license and starting your exciting new career in real estate.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to State of Real Estate. I'm John Carissimo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. This is our way of giving back to our students to not only help them start their real estate career, but grow their real estate business, to be a real estate success story. We love hearing from students that are in the real estate industry, that have changed their lives since they've gone into the real estate industry, and we want to see that happen more and more. So that's why we come here every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time to mastermind with you, to help to grow your real estate business and answer your questions that you have about what it is that I should be doing during my first 30 days, because that's what we're talking about today, your first 30 days in the real estate business. We talked about what you need to be spending your money on, which again, that's your business cards, that's your professional photo, and that's your name tag or your embroidered shirt or something like that, so you look the part. You go, you can meet somebody, you give them a business card, they see your name tag, they see that you're professionally dressed, and they see your professional headshot on the photo, on the business card, and they're like, okay, yes, this person does seem like somebody that is professional, that knows what they're doing, and you're gonna make that good first impression that'll make them call you. If you don't have any business cards and somebody goes, oh, I don't have any business cards, but take out your phone, I'll give you my number. What kind of professional is that? What kind of professional says, I don't have any business cards? Always have business cards. Keep some in your wallet. Keep some in your pocket. Get yourself a little business card holder. Again, that's a luxury. This isn't essential, one of those business cards holder, but if it's going to help you carry around the business cards, then okay, yeah, it is still a luxury. So if you're tight on money, and remember, you're in survival mode until that first contract comes along. So, what I promised we were going to talk about on this next segment are things that you don't want to do. So I see a lot of new agents, whether it's at my brokerage office or I just see it in the general scope of things, and I try every time I can to say, hey, is this really the best use of your time here? Is this really going to translate to this? Or somebody will come to tell me and about how they've been doing. You're like, oh, John, look at this great website I built. Look at my Facebook page. Look at this. And I'm like, okay, what kind of business have you got off the website? What kind of business have you got off the Facebook page? Because those are very long-term strategies. These aren't things that are going to work right away. These are long-term strategies that will eventually get you some business, but they're things that you need to remember, it's for the long term. These aren't things that are going to translate to money today. That's where the prospecting comes in. And again, I've said this a couple times, but go back and watch last week's episode of State of Real Estate, because we talked about how to prospect, things you could do to prospect, but this is your way to kind of really generate some income right off the bat. So you definitely want to be prospecting as much as you can. So the number one thing I'll tell you that you should not be doing, the number one thing that you want to make sure that you're not doing, because if you are doing this, it's not going to be good, and that's listening to sales pitches. Yes, you want to be making sales pitches, but you do not want to be listening to sales pitches. And the reason why you don't want to listen to sales pitches is because, again, the real estate is one of the largest industries in the world. It's the National Association of Realtors is the largest trade organization in the world, which means there's a lot of business in helping other people's businesses. But again, remember, those are luxuries. That's stacking the logs on the fire, not starting the fire. So when you start getting calls from Realtor.com, from Trulia.com, from Zillow.com, from Homes.com, from all of these websites that want to sell you leads, that's not where you want to invest your money right off the bat. Yes, it will work, but let me tell you why that's not the best for a new agent. Most of these websites, and unless they've changed since I've last looked at them, or maybe there's one out there that doesn't operate off of this strategy, but these websites, they're on there for people to go in and find houses and find agents that are interested in it, which is a great source of leads. But if you're a new agent, you're going to be up there being compared to agents that are masters of their industry. So unless you're on some sort of website where you're the only person marketing the property, that's the only time I would say that'd be a good choice. But pretty much all these websites, there's multiple agents that are up there, and that's how they maximize their revenue. They could charge a lot more when there's 3 people up there rather than just one person that they're charging that's on there, because it just makes more sense for them. But when you're being compared to other agents and you have no reviews and everybody else has like hundreds of reviews on there, it's going to be obvious they're going to want to talk to these people that have more reviews, that have the 5-star reviews, when you have the little gray stars there. So that's not really the best way to start as a new agent. And even if you can get some reviews, maybe there's some people that you've already worked with on there, you want to have your pitch down pat, because now when you have these other agents you're competing with on properties, you need to be the first to get to these people, and you got to have the best presentation. So it's very competitive on there, which is not really good for new agents. That's a really advanced level type of marketing strategy, going through all that stuff. So you don't want to be listening to their sales pitches. You just say, no, I'm not ready to do this yet. I'll call you in a few months. And they're like, oh, well, can I call you next week? No, I will call you in a few months when I'm ready to invest in something like this, because they are great ways to generate leads. But when you're first starting out, that's not, those again, they're luxuries. They're stacking logs on the fire. You tell them, hey, I'm trying to start my fire. I don't need you trying to help me build my fire until I have the fire roaring, until I have a spark. You have to get the spark first, then you could start worrying about putting logs on your fire. So What are we going to be doing to get our spark? That's where you're out there prospecting. You're holding open houses. You're talking to people. You're door knocking. You're cold calling. Whatever it is that you want to do. If you don't like cold calling or you don't like going knocking on people's doors, then every weekend you should be trying to get people to come to you through an open house. If you don't have any listings, find an agent that's willing to let you hold their house open, which you'll find a lot of agents that are willing to let you hold their house open because they don't want to do an open house. And it looks really good to the seller when they see that they're doing open houses all the time. And if they could get that impression without having to do the open houses, there you go. It's a win-win situation. You get to meet new people and practice your people skills. They get to look good with their clients because they have their team now, because now they have a team that's actually holding the open houses for them. So that's a really great strategy to get out there and get some business. But if you're a more extroverted person, and even if you're not, again, the confidence and rehearsing these things is going to help you with this, then you could get out there and do door knocking. Then you could get out there and do cold calling, or you could do all these extra things where you're actually going to clients, which those are really free methods. Yes, they cost your time, but when you're first starting out especially, and even if you're doing real estate part-time when you're starting out, you have time to actually go through and do some of these things. So we don't want to be listening to sales pitches. That's not a good use of our time. We want to be making sales pitches, not receiving sales pitches. I've said this a couple times already, but you don't want to invest too much money right off the bat. The reason is because you're not going to spend the money as wisely today as you could tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, I mean a month down the road or a couple months down the road. You'll understand what translates to a better return on investment then than you do now. And you might say, oh, well, there's never a perfect time to start investing money, and I need to build my business, and I need to do this and that, and so on and so forth. It's going to be real discouraging to you when you've invested this money and you're not getting the return on investment it is that you've predicted. So don't invest your money right away because it's really hard to predict. If this industry was just as easy as putting money in and getting money out, if that was how easy it was, you just put this much money in and you're going to get this much money out, then there'd be so much more people doing this. Even something that's as, I don't want to use the term predictable, but let's say that this isn't even like the stock market, and even then you have a chance you could lose the money. But with the stock market, you put the money in, you could lose it, but if you make a smart investment, you could end up making money. So just like investing in the real estate industry, you need to be smart about how it is that you're spending your money. So don't just go dumping money in it. Even if you have money to blow, it's going to get discouraging when you're not seeing that return on investment that you were expecting to receive. The other things that you do not want to be doing, don't focus too much on designing your logo, on designing your website, on setting up a blog, on setting up your Facebook page, on setting up your Twitter page, on doing all these things that aren't contributing to starting the fire. Remember, we're starting the fire, not building the fire. If you're spending all day designing your logo, yeah, you'll end up with a great logo, but guess what? You probably could have paid $5 on Fiverr.com and got a logo, and it would have taken nothing other than just describing what type of logo you want. Yeah, it might not be perfect, but no one's going to choose you because you have the best looking logo. They don't. And now, aside from somebody that's maybe eccentric, they're not going to say, let me see your logo, comparing some logos of other agents in the area, and whoever has the best logo is going to get my business. Yes, it will make you look more professional, but that's not what you're going to see. They're not going to pick you solely based on your logo. So don't spend all day designing your logo. You can always change your logo. And as much of a marketing background as I have, and how whenever I see rebrands, I cringe because you're like, what are you doing? You're throwing away all that recognition you have with your previous logo. But it's especially when you're just starting out, how much recognition was it that you really had? You could always change your logo down the road and make it into something nicer and prettier that you can now afford to pay somebody much more money than just $5 to create the best logo in the world. But that you don't need the best logo in the world to start in real estate. You don't need all these little things that are very time consuming on your part. If you're trying to learn how to design a website so you could build a real estate website because you don't have the money to pay for one of these website services, that's not a good use of your time. You could design the best website in the world, or you could even pay for the best website in the world, but unless you're spending additional money on top of that to advertise that website, that's not going to generate your business right off of that. Yes, they're great for long-term strategies, but when you're worrying about the first 30 days, getting to that first contract, we're not worried so much about our big goal. We're worried about getting to that first goal, getting to that first contract, getting that first contract under our belt, and lining up some additional contracts to occur after that. And that's what you need to focus on, getting to that first contract, not things that are building your business and so on and so forth. Don't be busy. Don't be busy. There's a story, and I originally heard this with Zig Ziglar, and if you've never listened to any of his books or seminars or anything like that, I definitely recommend checking it out. And what he talked about was there's a study done by a scientist. So there's something called a processionary caterpillar. I had no idea what a processionary caterpillar is, but what a processionary caterpillar is a caterpillar that follows procession of other caterpillars. So a caterpillar that follows other caterpillars, and they just go and parade along. They follow the other caterpillar, and they just go until that caterpillar stops. And so what this scientist did is he took a flower pot. So he took a flower pot, and he lined up these processionary caterpillars until they formed a complete circle. So until they formed a complete circle going around the pot. And since they just follow whoever's in front of them, and there was literally an infinite of them going in front of each other, they just kept on marching. They kept on walking and walking and walking and walking, and the guy's like, oh my God, they are just not stopping. They're literally just following the caterpillar in front of them. And days went by. 3 days went by, and he's like, oh my God, they're still going. And so what he did, and this was a small flower pot, what he did is he put pine needles in the middle. And that's what these processionary caterpillars eat, is they eat pine needles. So they put an abundance of food right there within their reach, just 3 inches from where they were, but they were busy being busy and following the other caterpillars. They were just circling around the pot. And this went on for 7 days until eventually the caterpillars died. So yeah, kind of a morbid story, but that's what you're doing if you're just focusing on being busy. You do not want to focus on being busy. You don't want to be the caterpillar following the other caterpillars around and round and round in circles when the food or the money is right there in front of you and it's right there within reach. You have to break free and just work on getting towards the goal. If it was 3 inches away. I think the pot was something like 8 inches. So they could have walked half the space it took to go around this thing once and actually got to their food, which is ultimately, I don't know the life of a caterpillar, but I ultimately would figure that's one of their goals. Get food, reproduce. Get food, reproduce. So that's really all they have to do. But in order to do one, they have to get the food first. So don't be the busy caterpillar. Don't be just marching around and marching around and marching around and working on your website and working on your logo and working on your social media page and working on doing this and that and that and that when it's just being busy. You want to ask yourself, am I starting the fire or am I building the fire? When you're in survival mode, you got to worry about starting the fire. Now, if you already have some clients, now you have a fire to build on. That's where you go through and follow up with this client, but you have to make sure that you keep building this fire. Now you could maybe even build multiple fires with that, but you need to have some clients that you could start working with, whether that's a friend or a family member. And there's all kinds of different ways to get in front of these people that are potential first clients, but that's what you need to be focusing on. And if you're going to spend any time outside of prospecting and trying to get in front of these people, that's where you want to be rehearsing and practicing your skills to deliver the best presentation so you look like a professional to them. And just to go one more on this, for the website, the logo, and so on and so forth, a lot of times people don't even go on your website. So, I mean, you might think you have the greatest website in the world, and maybe that's all you're talking about when you go meet them, and you're like, oh, look, here's my card, go on my website, it's got all the houses, they're updated instantly, go on there and check it out, because I'll help you with your house, and you just find what you like on there, and you hit the little heart button, and I'll be able to see it, and I'll be like, oh, you like this house, I'll show you this house. So you might make this great pitch about them, about your website, and they're like, oh, well, that guy really likes his website, okay, maybe I'll check this out. They'll stick that in their pocket, and they'll probably forget about you. So all that time you spent building this website because you thought it was going to translate to something, it doesn't. They probably won't even go on your website. They might type in the URL wrong. They might type in your website address wrong, and they can't find it. So then they try to search for it, but since it's a brand new website, it's not even going to come up right in the first couple search results in there. That takes time to optimize your website to get there. So that's not a good use of your time building that website. Yes, it's a great long-term strategy for building the fire, but before you worry about building the fire, you have to start the fire. And that's getting in front of people. And a much better pitch would be like, hey, I'd love to sit down and talk to you about what your thoughts are on maybe selling the property or some things we could do to help optimize your property and get it ready for sale. Maybe you're not even talking about the sale yet, but I'd love to come out there and meet with you and talk about some things you could do to this property to help maximize the value, because I see a lot of people that'll go spend too much money over improving something and it doesn't trade into value. You look like a smart person, but it's easy mistakes. So I'd love to come out there and just give you a couple of pointers on that. Now you have an appointment. When you have an appointment, you're that much closer to a contract. That's what you need to be focusing on, is getting appointments. Without appointments, you can't have any contracts. So if you don't have any appointments, you have a 0% chance of getting a contract. You do not have a chance of getting a contract until you have an appointment. So focus on getting yourself appointments, because when you have appointments, now you have a chance to potentially get a contract. Oh, let's see what else we have here. This is another one. So there's this whole concept of dream boarding, or making your little goal sheet or your little pictures that you hang up on the wall, and that's great. But, and I'm a big proponent of doing like something like this to keep you memorized on what it is that you want to achieve and what the end goal ultimately is for these things. But don't spend your time just on, and there's a particular person that's close to me, I won't mention who it is. He might be watching this right now, but don't focus too much on the end goal of what car it is that you want to get, and how it is that you're going to customize this car, and what little things you're going to get for this car. That's not going to get you business. You need to focus on getting appointments, because when you can get appointments, that gets you contracts, which could turn into money. In order to get money, you need to have contracts. In order to get contracts, you have to have appointments. Focusing on your dream car, or your dream yacht, or your dream house, or whatever it is that your goal is that you want to achieve. It's great to have those goals, but you don't want to have them in too much detail, because the more detail you start thinking about these things, the more you try to make this happen. So don't focus on it. It's okay to have that in the back of your head, but that shouldn't be top of mind. It's okay to be in the back of your head, but not top of mind. That's not what you want to actually focus on. You want to focus on getting your appointments, not what it is you're going to do once you have appointments, not what trips you're going to take or anything like that. You need to focus on drawing up your business. Don't be busy. Work on building your business. And make sure you ask yourself the question, am I starting the fire, or am I building the fire? Or even worse, am I just sitting around the fire on Facebook? Am I just sitting on Facebook when I should be actually out there drumming up business? So I know you need a break, and it's okay to take a break occasionally, but Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all these sites, Instagram, they're designed to draw you in and keep you on there, because when they keep you on there, that's how they make money off of advertising. So they're going to draw you in. It's okay to maybe take a little break, because everyone needs a little break every now and then, and you might be using Facebook or whatever as a marketing tool, so it's okay to go in there and check in on that, but don't fall into the trap of just being stuck in there and cycling through all this stuff. So not wasting time, that's the final point I wanted to talk about with that. Couple other things I just want to touch on before I let you guys go for today. So really the big thing is prospecting every single day. And unless you're prospecting, if you're not prospecting, then you need to be preparing your pitches to get to these contracts. Those are the things that you need to be practicing on, because that's what's going to actually translate into some business, some money that's going to be generated for you. So that's what you need to focus on. You want to have yourself a goal, but your first goal is getting a contract. Until you have a contract, you have no chance of achieving that much larger goal. So goal number one is always getting a property under contract, or having a listing contract with a seller, or buyer brokerage agreement with your buyer. And yes, you do need to know these contracts. It is essential to your success in real estate to know these contracts. But like I said, you'll learn a lot better in the moment as it applies to that scenario, as opposed to just learning the theory behind these documents. So before I let you go, I want to give you a takeaway from today. And I challenge you to go out there and implement some of these strategies. Even if this isn't your first 30 days in real estate. Maybe you've been in the real estate industry for multiple years, but I guarantee there's something in here that could maybe help you jumpstart your business. If you're having maybe a little bit of a lull and you want to kind of jumpstart your business, hopefully this is able to help you, because these same principles apply that get you started will help propel you even further down the road once you've already have an established real estate business. So I challenge you to implement some of these strategies that we've talked about today. I challenge you to make sure that you're spending your time and your money wisely. And I challenge you to make sure that you are working toward your goal in the end. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Again, this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your career in real estate, visit us online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or give us a call at 813-928-0106. I'm John Carissimo, and I hope you guys enjoyed this show today. Make sure to join us next week at 12 noon on Friday for next week's episode of State of Real Estate, and I'll see you guys.